welcome to Brenda Beattie's Brushstrokes, and I'm Brenda Beattie. Lots of B's, B, B, B. This channel is all about art, drawing and painting in acrylics, watercolors, and ink. It has tips and tricks and step-by-step tutorials. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and press the bell so you'll be notified each time I produce a new video. This video is second in a series called The Beginner's Guide to Watercolors. The first video was about supplies. If you missed that one, I'll put a link so you can catch up. In this video, I will talk about brushstrokes. I'm going to talk about all the brushes that I will use in the series, The Beginner's Guide to Watercolors. And I'll show you in this video how to use all those brushes. If you practice, these brushstrokes will become second nature to you when you're painting. So follow along, give it a try. In the next video, we're going to be doing a painting using all these brushstrokes, or as many of them as I can incorporate into one painting. And with each following video, I will show you a technique, and then we'll do a painting using that technique. I'm a landscape painter and a flower painter, so these will be our subjects for the next few videos in the series. Please leave messages for me in the comments because I read them and I want to know what you need to know, what you'd like to learn, and comments about the videos. I'm always open for your reactions. There are links in the bottom in the description below the video to the products that I use. If you purchase using these links, I get a small commission, and that helps me to keep producing these videos freely of charge. And you don't pay any extra when you purchase through the links. Now let's get on to the Beginner's Guide of Watercolors, number 2. And find out how to use those brushes. So I'm going to demonstrate the first brush, which is the 2-inch wash brush. And I'm going to use some phthalo blue. The first thing we do usually is a big wash. Really nice to get a lot of color fast. Then we can use the edge of it to do some very small things, maybe textures, fence posts. We can use the tip of the brush So these could be flowers in a field, birds in the sky. Could be a whole flock of birds in the sky. That was just using the corner of this brush, so that's very nice. You could also do a semicircle. You could do a circle, but I'm going to use a semicircle so I don't take up too much paper here. So I just rotate it, keeping one corner on the paper and lift the other. As you get less paint on your brush, your bristles will separate and you get a different effect. You can get some very nice effects. I'll just go over top of some of my birds, or perhaps not the birds. I like those birds. Just over this part. Isn't that nice? Little tiny strokes. Very, very useful. So I'm going to wash my big wash brush out, clean it. And I'm going to use my next flat brush, which is the 3/4. I can do almost the same thing with it, pretty much. It's just smaller. So look at these lovely strokes. These can be nice for tree trunks. Oh, one thing I didn't show you on the big brush, you can get different strokes holding the brush up close to the ferrule, like you would a pencil. That gives you a lot of control. Or you can hold it further away. Now you can get some very good strokes, nice, easy strokes holding it at the end of the brush. So give it a try. Find out what you like the best. And as you lose the amount of paint in the brush as it gets drier, of course you get this separation of the bristles again. Really nice. And you can also do this absolutely straight line. Oh, and pressure, different pressure on a brush. So, am I still on under the camera? If I put a little bit of pressure on the brush, you get a small line. I put more pressure on, get a thicker line. So you can press down, up, down, up. That will make the line varied. Can also do some very nice strokes with the tip of this brush. And twisting it, you can make your ribbons. Now I'll show you the number 10 round. I'm putting it in the water and then the paint, and I'm loading it with a lot of paint. Once again, with my fingers at the tip of the brush, and when I have a little hair in my brush, let's wipe it off. The joys of having cats. I use my little finger as a guide when I'm making a straight line. So you can get a very small line. Once again, with pressure, down and up, down and up, down and up. Look at these lovely lines I can make. Teardrop shapes. Great for leaves or flower petals. You can get lots of small little marks, depending on whether you use the tip of the brush straight up and down. You can use it on its edge. And use it sideways. When the brush starts to get dry, you can use the texture of the paper. This is lovely, the way the texture shows through. Really enjoy that. Now I'm going to show you the number 6 brush. This one is a Kolinsky Sable. These brushes, by the way, I may not have mentioned in the supply video. Kolinsky Sable brushes are all made by hand. The ones from Winsor & Newton are. So you can make a very straight line. I'm using my little finger again. And you can use the same sort of, you can make a vine here. Little leaf shapes. little flower shapes. And of course, use of the texture of the paper. The next brush I'll show you will be the detail brush. This is a number, it's a number 1 round. This is a white Taklon, which is a synthetic. And I have it loaded right now, so it's not really at a complete point. So you can get a fairly thick line with it, but now that most of the paint has come off, you'll get a very tiny little line with it. Now these brushes you can use this to get a lot of detail. You can of course use it on the side of the brush. By holding it like this, you can bring it right down. Most often we use it right on the tip. And make tiny little marks with this brush. Very fine. And it doesn't take long to run out of paint. It won't hold much paint. The next one is the rigger brush or the script liner. I'll load that up. You'll see how long the bristles are here. So usually you notice that I'm holding it at the end of the handle, and that's usually how we hold it. And we flick it. We're using our wrist with it to get this kind of a stroke with it. So the stroke is thick at the bottom and goes to a really tiny point when you flick it like that. You could use it like this, holding it a little closer. And you could use it, but we don't usually. We usually just use it, I use it most often for branches, but you can use it also, of course, for grasses. And it was called a script liner because it was most often used in painting the riggings of sailing ships. And our final brush that I'm going to show you today is the fan brush. And fan brushes can be used in various ways. I think the biggest thing to watch out for, and I'm wetting it first and then putting it in the paint, is that you don't overuse it. Sometimes you can just look at an artist's work and say, oh, look, they used the fan brush. Their attention to be drawn to the strokes that you want their attention to be in the painting. So most often it's used for bushes and foliage. So we have this lovely stroke here for a bunch of grasses. You don't want to, and you can get this kind of an effect with it. You can use it this way. It can be used this way as well. Look at that, isn't that an amazing stroke? As you see, the bristles do separate, and then you get these parallel lines with it. Well, depending on how you use it. You can get it on its edge, just using a couple. You can use just a few, use the whole thing. And there you have some of the things that can be used with your brushes, some of the strokes that you can get. And you'll have to give it a try and see what you can do with your brushes. You don't want to experiment in the middle of a painting, so give yourself a break and do it first.